And the looming tariff deadline. No deal yet to exempt Australia. Now, given how hard he prosecuted the points here today in the speech on tariffs right around the world, do you think we're going to get a break?
You know, I just spent a week in Australia. I was in Canberra talking to a group just a week ago and got that question several times during my visit. And I'll say the same thing here that I said there, which is I get the feeling that the exemption is likely because the circumstances that gave rise to the exemption 8 years ago still exist today. The steel and aluminum tariffs applied to types of steel and aluminum that we don't make in this country. And that when we do import it, we use it heavily in our defense industry. That was the case 8 years ago. It's the case now. Australia actually has a trade deficit with the United States. We have a free trade agreement with you folks. You spend a good bit of your money defending yourselves. Australia is doing everything that Donald Trump says he wants countries overseas to do. You're not taking advantage of the situation, your relationship with the United States of America. So those were the case. Those facts were the case in the first term. They're the case now. So I'm still cautiously optimistic that the exemptions will be forthcoming.
I want to pick up his comments today about immigration because I think they're worth discussing specifically. He made the point that after toughening the southern border in the first few weeks, the US recorded the lowest number of border crossings ever in US history. And he made the very obvious, but I think profound political point. Have a listen.
The media and our friends in the Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation. We must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president.
And this is it, isn't it, Mick? Leadership matters. Leadership makes a difference, as it did here in Australia when we stopped the boats under Conservative leaders.
It's huge. Even some Democrats now are admitting that things are better on the southern border, that the attitudes have changed and so forth. So they're trying to sort of take some credit for it, saying Biden was doing some of the same things. But clearly, this is very popular. And how can it not be? How can not keeping illegal criminals out of your country be a popular thing? So yeah, that's not by accident that you saw several examples of that today. People I'm talking about now invited to this speech by the president. No, this has been a very, very powerful political issue. Donald Trump is now saying, by the way, right after the election, he said he won because of inflation. And now he's changing his tune a little bit, saying that he really thinks he won on his immigration. And clearly immigration dramatically outweighed the economy tonight in terms of the amount of time the topic got as part of the speech.
Look, I want to get your take on the Ukraine stoush. Where are we at, Mick?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I watched the Oval Office meeting last week live, and I've watched it 4 or 5 times since then. And look, President Zelensky made a huge mistake, and he needs to fix it. I've been in those Oval Office meetings before when I was chief of staff of the President of the United States. I've never seen anything like that. Look, we all like to think that international affairs are driven by geopolitics and self-interest and national interest and all those types of things. But personalities play a role, and Zelensky was just a bad partner, a bad friend in that Oval Office meeting last week, and he's going to have to fix it, I think, in order to get things back on track.
Just on what you were saying there, that he didn't come across as enough of a supplicant. It wasn't perhaps submissive enough. He didn't pay enough tribute to the United States. Is that what got under the president's skin?
No, it's not supplication and it's not gratitude. It was the attitude, for lack of a better word. Look, again, I've been in these meetings. If you're going to have a difficult bilateral, a two-way conversation between heads of state, you do it when the cameras are off. You don't try to make the president of the United States look bad when the cameras are on in the live part of the Oval Office meeting. Look, we've had tough discussions with our friends. We've had tough discussions with our adversaries over the course of the last several years. And again, I've seen these, but whenever the lights go on and you're on camera, you're supposed to smile, shake hands, and say, look, we've got some things to work through, but we've had a productive dialogue. So no, I think the reaction that you saw was natural by Vice President Vance and by Donald Trump when they were pressed by Zelensky in the public part of the meeting. That's a major diplomatic mistake. It's a major diplomatic faux pas. And to think that people just because you're elected to office doesn't mean you're not still a person, and regular things like that count. And I'm not surprised that Trump and Vance reacted the way they did.
Mick Mulvaney, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Peter.